Hello everybody, it's Adam with the Pattaya News in our first recap video for 2024. We hope you had a very wonderful New Year's and that your New Year's plans went exactly the way that you wanted it to. Now, as for today's video, we're going to talk about what you can expect to see in Pattaya for 2024, at least in our opinion. We're also going to link in this, depending on where you're watching it, an article that I recently wrote kind of going into depth about this. But on this particular video, I'm just going to touch on some basics without really going into depth or other articles and specifics. Now, 2024, well, to talk about 2024, we really need to go back to 2023 and, of course, 2022 and before that, the COVID era. So 2024, Thailand's government has some very ambitious goals. Now, besides overall Thailand's goals, let's focus on Pattaya specifically. Their goal is to have 27 million tourists visit Pattaya in 2024. Now, I'm sure some of you just literally jumped out of your seat or spit Coke all over your monitor, but that is not foreign tourists. That's tourists overall, including both domestic Thai tourists and international foreign tourists visiting the Pattaya area for as little as even one day. Now, that number might sound ambitious, but according to the Tourism Authority of Thailand, we actually had 23 million tourists visit this area in 2023. Now, going back into the COVID era, of course, when borders were closed and there were COVID restrictions and foreign tourists, for the most part, couldn't get in without a series of pain-in-the-neck quarantines and other restrictions, domestic tourism really took off in Pattaya during that time. Now, there's always been domestic tourism here, of course, but during the COVID era, they were forced to really pivot from their strategy of foreign tourism to having events every single weekend aggressively to try to draw in domestic Thai tourists, especially those from Bangkok coming in for the weekends. Well, hey, guess what? It worked. It actually worked really well, and it worked so well that they're going to continue those plans into 2024 with, yes, once again, events every single weekend to attract domestic tourists, and of course any foreign tourists that come in too. But it's important to remember that for pretty much all of these events, even the big ones like the Countdown and the Fireworks Festival and the music festivals and everything else, their main audience for this is Thais, not foreigners. So that's going to continue. Now, of course, many of our readers and viewers are expats. And although they understand the need for tourism, I mean, heck, it's 90% of the GDP of Pattaya. Tourism is basically what drives this entire area. Anybody who was here during COVID-19 saw the devastation and desolation that the COVID restrictions and lack of tourists, both foreign and domestic, at least during the restrictions, caused Pattaya to have. I mean, they were food lines in the thousands of people. So yes, Pattaya needs tourism, 100%. But what many of our expats and viewers are upset about is the fact that all of these events that continue to happen and all of these people that it brings into the city, millions and millions and millions, millions served, not like McDonald's, causes a lot of headaches, especially in terms of traffic. Now, there's some ambitious plans for traffic in 2024 in Pattaya. One of them we've talked about a number of times, making Soy Buakaw one way. That test is probably going to start in the very near future. Another thing that's supposed to happen is widening and lengthening the Jomtien Beach Road, especially in the Na Jomtien area past Soy Shayapru. When that's going to happen, though, has not been announced. But, you know, that's another aggressive plan that they have. Also, by the way, there's plans on the agenda this year to finally start expanding the sand on the more popular version of Jomtien Beach down by Dongtan Beach. It's unclear whether or not Dongtan Beach itself will be expanded yet, as there's been some opposition from condo and business owners in that area. But, you know, everybody gets these headaches because of all these traffic plans, and there's some big plans for the future that won't take place this year, such as the BTS version in Pattaya of a monorail. Do you really think we're gonna get a monorail? Maybe. There's some other big ambitious projects too that will drive even more traffic, but also tourism. One of those, of course, is the stadium in East Pattaya that's been basically under construction for 15 years, but they finally signed a memorandum of understanding to get this project going. Well, they better hurry because they have signed up to be a host for the Southeast Asia Games taking place, I believe, in the near future. Not 2024, but 2025, doing this off the top of my head. So they have about 18 months to really finish that project so that they can use it as a host area. They'll also be moving some of the events in the future that they currently run on Jomtien Beach to that area. Sports tourism is a big part of the future. Another big project that's on the agenda but tied up in a number of legal issues is the Bali High Pier. Now, they've been talking about renovating and making this area a brand new experience, let alone walking street, for also almost 2 decades. But now they say they're finally working through some of the legal problems they've had before in this area to really drive this project and possibly put in a cruise ship port. Well, there's other headaches in that area too, such as the waterfront that we've talked about on a number of occasions. If you're not familiar with the waterfront, that's that eyesore of a under construction condo, which is now basically derelict and falling apart, tied up in a number of legal issues that has a legal order to be demolished. But whether or not that happens next year, or this year, sorry, we'll see. Some other big things on the agenda for 2024, also to look for, is marijuana. Now, this has been a polarizing issue for Pattaya residents. Some are supporters, some are not. Regardless, since it was decriminalized in 2022 kind of suddenly and left a gray area, it's seen now over 1,000 dispensaries, cafes, and shops open up in and around Pattaya. Now, the Prime Minister has said he plans to crack down on this and make marijuana only for medical very strictly. Whether or not this actually happens and whether or not it affects the current dispensaries and shops in the area is a big question mark, especially since the average Thai sees many other things like air pollution or the economy as much more important than cracking down on marijuana shops, which to them haven't appeared to be that big of a problem. But we could see some changes this year. And last, but certainly not least, there's something that, according to officials forever, has not existed in Pattaya. It doesn't exist. It's not here. Can you guess what it is? Yes, that's right. It's that P word, prostitution. Well, there's a bill on the way that would legalize prostitution in Thailand, and that could cause major changes to the atmosphere and the environment in Pattaya if it goes through. There's a strong chance it does, by the way. That's not speculation. That's because both the current government and the opposition both support this, similar to a bill that just passed the cabinet that is passing, obviously, for marriage equality, which will allow gay marriage as well as more rights for transgender individuals, such as having the ID card of the gender that is of their choice. It's going to be a big year, but at the end of the day, we just hope that everybody stays safe, stays happy, and has an absolutely wonderful 2024. And for regular updates here from Pattaya, Chonburi, and Thailand, each and every day, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Take care of yourselves, guys. Oh, and that's right, each other.